Luka, play up. Luka, invert it. Low man. Yo. Make him drive. I'm with you. Hey. Watch the corner, Maxie. Drop. Kai, get out, Kai.
The Dallas Mavericks are still alive after building on their Game 3 defensive adjustment, and now the question is whether Boston is actually in trouble after one of the biggest finals losses in NBA history. The Mavs have struggled against Boston's penetration at the point of attack throughout much of this series, but in Game 4, Dallas's point of attack defense was much better right out of the gate, with Daniel Gafford switching on to Jason Tatum, then staying in front of multiple moves from him, and he does a great job contesting at the end of the drive. Tatum went after him in the third, Gafford again took away the penetration, and then blocks Tatum's step back three, which is ridiculously impressive. And late in the first, Kyrie Irving is switched onto Tatum. Jason goes to work and beats him with the spin, but this drive goes nowhere, and then it's nearly a turnover on the pass, and after a rugby scrum, we end up with a jump ball. But this is all about Josh Green helping off the corner, lunging at Tatum so he protects the ball, but that allows Kyrie to swipe it with his inside hand, so Tatum can't hit Jaylen Brown on this cut, and that's a great example of a teammate helping the on-ball defender. Remember, point of attack defense isn't just about the man guarding the ball. Maxi Kleber jumps out onto Tatum here, and it looks like he just stays with the shot pretty well, but it's actually a team effort because Kyrie influences Tatum by sitting right in his driving line, so he pulls the drive back and settles for the tough three instead. Sometimes teammates help prevent an overt breakdown. Luka is caught off guard when Drew Holiday slips this screen, but PJ Washington helps and then recovers back to his man. Then he funnels the ball to Doncic, only to peel off at the last second, and it's another miss. And this looks like Drew passes on a layup, but it's because he expects PJ to fully rotate, so Brown would be wide open, but instead Washington fakes that help, which gets Drew to pass, and then he can recover without giving up any real advantage. Boston shot 51% on its drives in the first three games, but just 32% in Game 4. And even when they chiseled all the way to the rim, they were often forced to their weaker hand. This time it's Green who switches out to Brown. He does really well to force him left, but Jaylen gets pretty deep before Derrick Jones Jr. saves the day, and Al Horford is inside Jones on this roll, so he's trying to seal him off, but Jones fights through and makes the great block. As we discussed in Game 3, Dallas had their centers stay low near the basket, roaming off the corner shooters in a kind of one-man zone. And we saw that again in Game 4, with Derek Lively running back to the paint, so he's not only leaving Boston's center, but he's roaming way off the corner shooter, and this helps Green at the point of attack because Holiday isn't thinking about a drive with Lively goalkeeping in front of the hoop. Drew pitches it to Tatum instead of a shooter. Green does a nice job containing him before Kyrie switches out to him, before Irving gets a little too aggressive and fouls. This time Lively's in his one-man zone. The Mavs help in the driving gap again. Tatum makes the early pass this time, which leads to a breakdown, but Lively's just waiting there, and even after a nice pass, he recovers to psych out Xavier Tillman. Here's a great example of Lively's goalkeeping. He's up on Horford to start the possession, realizes there's an opportunity to switch a teammate to Horford so he can roam closer to the rim, and now because of that, he's in a position to come over and help save a Kyrie breakdown. They swing it, but Tatum again misses an open shooter, and it ends up in a shot clock violation. This one-man zone was super effective in this game because Al Horford only took 1 3, and Tillman isn't even thinking about shooting from above the break, so if Lively needs to recover out to Tatum, he has time to get there. Boston's spacing is all jacked up now, so when Lively contains the drive, Luka has another player helping behind him to deter a layup. And that's huge because Holiday actually has a step here, but has to pick it up early so Doncic can contest from the side. The entire idea of having the center roam around in front of the basket is to help players like Luka when there's a blow-by on the outside, because Lively standing in front of the rim is a very different proposition than a wing or guard standing in front of the rim. Meaning when Holiday drives here, instead of a shot at the basket, it's at least a kick out to a shooter. Dallas actually flooded the paint even more in Game 4, with Brown getting a step on Doncic. Only 2 players are defending the rim because Gafford's playing goalie and Washington's pulled way over off the corner. Brown does make the pass, but this time Tatum doesn't take the open 3, and when they reverse it, Luka hustles to close out on Derek White. So in addition to roaming the centers, the other Mavs really wanted to shrink the court and help in the paint this game. This time Irving is a bit flat-footed, Tatum blows right by him, but Jones Jr. flies over to meet him early and just save that layup. And on this play, Lively's roaming over to track the ball. Luka wants to avoid being put in the pick and roll, so Lively has to sprint out instead, and that just triggers Green to roam way over off the corner, so when Tatum gets by Doncic, he sees traffic. Then Washington hustles on the closeout to take away the shot. Green's back in perfect position to help on that drive, and finally Luka pounces to contest at the rim. Whew. Dallas's activity and defensive effort was way better in this game. Gafford falls down behind the play, immediately gets up and sprints down the floor, which was huge because it saved an easy layup. And we saw this play earlier where you don't want 2 defenders closing to a shooter, but look at that effort from Dante Exum and Green sprinting across the floor to Tatum and ultimately force that turnover. Here's more great effort in transition, where Lively is forced to pick up Tatum, so Green needs to help off the corner, and he sprints to the charge circle to destroy that drive after he blew by Lively. And Dallas was so invested in protecting the rim that even in transition, Kleber sits right at the edge of the paint to deter a Brown drive and concedes a clean 3 from a sharpshooter instead. And Maxey gave Dallas way more defensive size in their double big lineup. So if Lively wasn't the one to deter a shooter, the 6'10 Kleber could sit in the lane instead. Here's a nice example of the double bigs. With Gafford recovering out to Horford, they pull him out into the pick and roll, but Dallas still has a big man in this low position, so he can throw off Holiday's shot. And this one was even better, where they again try to pull the shot blocker into the pick and roll and away from the basket. Horford sets a Gortat screen to spring Tatum, but Maxey's there to destroy another layup. Kleber's length is also helpful compared to smaller players like Tim Hardaway Jr. and Jaden Hardy, who were basically shelved this game and replaced by these bigger, longer defensive lineups. And a key part of this success was Kleber containing the ball extremely well against Boston's wings and guards. On this one, Brown looks to attack Luka. Doncic actually pokes it away and eats up a ton of the shot clock. Then Maxey slides with Holiday pretty well, and it's another interior miss. And even Luka's on-ball defense was a little stronger this game, especially in his isolation matchups against Drew. Although, I'm not sure if Holiday just had fumbleitis or if some of Doncic's physical bumps caught him off guard, but he had a ton of turnovers attacking Luka on drives like these. In addition to the one time Doncic used the old soccer kick defense to dispossess Holiday, that's what they call it in the old football, and then turn that defense into offense on the other end by backing down Drew and spinning home for 2. The Celtics certainly had their share of self-inflicted wounds with some sloppy play throughout the night, in addition to the questionable decision-making we've seen where they fail to hit wide-open shooters as Dallas sagged more and more into the lane. they were held to their lowest offensive rating of the Joe Mazzulla era, which was a fitting breakthrough for the Mavs defense that went from 27th in the league in the first half of the year all the way to 3rd after the PJ Washington trade when adjusting for opponent quality. So, there are some clear areas for Boston to clean up and counterpunch with in Game 5, but for the first time in the 2024 Finals, Dallas was really able to play the game on its terms and extend the series back to Boston for at least one more game. To support this channel, check out patreon.com/thinkingbasketball. We have a Discord community, extra content, and stats that we use to research these videos and the Thinking Basketball podcast. Thanks, as always, for watching this one all the way through. And of course, I hope you're having a great day.